So we're currently right in the middle of trying to get our second crop put up, and we've been running so hard and fast that I really haven't filmed much. Just trying to get things done between these rainstorms and everything else that's been going on. Just figured I'd give you guys a little bit of an update. So last night I finished cutting everything down here on the Wyoming side by these pivots. So while I'm waiting for things to dry out a little bit today, I'm gonna go down here to the river pasture, and I'm gonna move this fence to let the cows over to this other side. So we've had this group of cows and steers down here all summer. And you can see they've picked this pretty well clean. We cut and bagged this piece over here on the other side of this electric fence. There's still plenty of grass that they can eat along the fence line and back there in them willows. So I'm gonna take down this electric fence. I've got this pivot moving right now, so once this pivot gets through these gates that we have here going through this fence, I'll wire shut all these gates again and get this all closed off for them. It shouldn't take too long for this pivot to get out of this pasture piece, then I can shut all these gates. So these cows will still have all this grass back here between all these willows and these tight spaces that aren't worth cutting. So there's still plenty for them to eat down here. Let's get them moved over to this side. So once this pivot goes through this last gate, I'll be able to shut it. Then I need to grab this fence charger here and move it down to the electric fence we have on the south side of this pasture. Then I'll take down this electric fence here and give them free range of the rest of this pasture down here. This is our farmer rigged gate here. Seems like we got a pretty good zap here. So this is my first year really doing much with that poly wire. I've sure liked it just because of how easy it is to roll it up and spool it out. All I've used in the past has just been metal wire, and it's such a pain to spool it back up when you're done with it. And I think I'm kind of won over on this poly wire so far. So I got part of this fence taken down. I got the wire taken down and a couple of these dancers taken out. So I'm gonna leave the rest of the fence up because we might want to put this electric fence back up once we get the cows over to this other side. Because over here on the north side of this pasture, we got a neighbor, and his cows like to kind of crowd us a little bit and swim across the river. So maybe we'll just keep our cows just as far as we can away from the other end there. Then here in about a month, we'll start bringing cows off the range too, and probably dumping them down here and into these hay fields that we're working on right now. And this will be their fall pasture. So I'm not gonna take down this fence all the way yet. So I just got this end and that other end up there by the barbed wire fence opened up. So maybe when these cows come over here to drink, they'll see that it's open and they'll just kind of drift over to this other side. So just watch them throughout the day and see what they do. Something else that's on my to-do list is getting this stack of hay tarped. So like I've been saying, we've been trying to dodge rainstorms and just getting things to dry. And we baled up a bunch of this hay when it was a little bit too wet, so we didn't really want to stick it in the hay shed. So we're just gonna leave it outside. I'm gonna tarp it. So I've bought 3 or 4 of these hay tarps, and this one's a 48-foot long one. And luckily the stack is just under 48 feet, so it should fit perfectly on here. Then I just made myself a little step ladder to get up to the top. This bale will go back into the hay shed. And then we'll just tarp right here on front here. Then same thing on the back. Then here on the back, I just used some of these rotten bales we had outside to kind of stack against to keep things from wanting to fall backwards. For those of you that don't know, wet hay can actually catch on fire, because what happens is if that hay's baled up too wet, it'll start to break down and it almost feel like a compost pile. If you've ever put your hand by a compost pile and you felt the heat that comes off of it, your hay will do the same thing if it's baled up too wet and stacked in a stack. I know it's kind of hard to believe, but I've seen it before. When I was hauling hay in the past, I pulled bales out of the hay stacks and they're as black as can be, and they'd almost gotten to the point where they were smoldering inside the haystack. You stick your hand inside the bale, you can't keep your hand in there because it's so hot. So the hard part's over. Now all I have to do is come back through and tie off all these ropes. I'll just tie them down here, these bottom strings on these bales that we flipped over on their sides. I'll get it tied down. Well, I got that all done. Kind of time consuming tying off all this rope. So I just use this crowbar, get back here behind the twine and pull it out so I could thread my rope up and through and tie it off. They make these winch straps that have hooks on them, and you can just hook them to your twine and then cinch it tight. I've never bought any of those because I don't really have to tarp a whole lot usually, so if I had to tarp more, I'd probably buy those and make my job a lot easier. We've been able to put up a little bit of horse hay out of this second crop, but we've mostly been bagging hay. I think we're working on our 8th bag now because we've had such tight time windows with all these rainstorms that keep rolling through that we just, you know, cut it and bale it and bag it real quick just to get it off the ground and for the next rainstorm hits. So we're gonna have a lot of silage to feed up this winter. We can fit about 36 to 38 bales in each one of these bags, depending on how many times you tie it as you work your way down. Cows are venturing out past that old electric fence there. These calves keep on crawling through the fence though. Not much I can really do about them. So this is where we're at. Just trying to get this last bit of hay to dry and get it baled up, and we'll be done with haying this year. This stuff here is ready for a rake today. It's been cut for about a week, but it's been hard to getting things dry this fall, just with how cool the mornings are and all the frost and the dew that we get. You can see here in this video how frosty and dewy these windrows get. And it's almost noon by the time the sun dries all that frost and dew off the windrows. And it's hard to get the inside of the windrow dried up, the part that's touching the ground. So we've just been struggling getting things to dry. That's why we've been bagging so much hay, and we've also been having countless breakdowns. So in this 3x3 baler, we lost this bearing here on the stuffer arm, which causes the whole arm to go off track. We lost the bearing in there, and it was off track enough that it bent all these teeth. I'm sure you can see it. All them teeth got bent inside there, and it shoved this whole arm over this way. So I haven't had a chance to look at everything and see if this is all bent out of shape. Like I said, you can see all these teeth are all bent and broke, so those need to be bent back and welded back straight. And on this other side, this bearing stayed, so this is what came off on the other side, which caused us to go off track. But this side came all the way off of its bearing here, so this whole arm is messed up. So that's going to be a project. Of course, it happens when you're in a time crunch and there's hay on the ground. And of course, everybody knows about this little Alice Chalmers getting struck by lightning. Been messing around with it a little bit, trying to get it running again. Then we lost a U-joint in this swather. This U-joint right here, that's on this PTO shaft, so we lost that. So we were down for a day getting that fixed. Then we lost a bearing in one of these rollers on this round baler. There's this bearing inside this roller here, so we had to take the tension off all these belts and pretty much raise this whole roller up and out of here so we get that bearing out that way. Luckily we had the bearing on hand for this one, so we were only down for 2 or 3 hours with this. So between fighting the weather and all these breakdowns, this is the hay season I'm ready to have over with. These horse hay pieces that we got that are mostly grass are looking nice and green after we got them cut. So we've got less than a month till the cows come off the range, and this will be their fall pasture once they come home. So hopefully this gets a chance to grow up a little bit taller and have some good fall feed for them. So I'm just going to move this pivot over this way so I can get it off the hay that we have raked on this side, and hopefully keep it away from the hay that I need to rake over on this side. So even with this drying for almost a week, it's still pretty wet once you get it rolled over. So we'll get it rolled over and exposed to the sun, and hopefully we can get this baled up before the next rainstorm hits us. Here in a couple days it's calling for another rainstorm and pretty cool temperatures, like temperatures in the 50s for highs. So hopefully we get this done before then. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Have a good day.